On the 13th of February 2017, Pastor Raymond Coe was abducted in a slick operation of under 40 seconds. You may think that his disappearance has nothing to do with you, but actually his abduction has everything to do with you and the state of the country. In this webinar, I will show why you should care and take an interest in what happened to Pastor Coe. The talk will be in 3 parts. In the first 2 parts, we talk about the state. In the final part, we talk about your role. First of all, I'd like you to imagine how you would feel if you were Susanna, Pastor Raymond Coe's wife, or Nur Hayati, the wife of Amri, or any of their children. Thing is, you can't. You cannot imagine the suffering they have gone through and are still going through. It's impossible to experience their trauma. When a loved one disappears, the feeling is like a wound that refuses to heal. There is no finality. Where is he? How is he? Is he okay? How do you accept his disappearance? Pastor Coe's abduction reflects what is happening in Malaysia. It is a tangled web of controversy, of denials, cover-ups, incompetence, and determination of the state to repress its own citizens. Let us start with Malaysia. Malaysia is the sick nation of Asia, and for over 4 decades, our human rights have slowly been eroded. Words, drawings, cartoons, and articles may generate a tsunami of police reports and the dreaded Sedition Act. If you live in Malaysia, you know that discrimination and intolerance is on the rise, and some people are considered more equal than others. The tourist doesn't see it. The visiting Malaysian living and working abroad does not feel it either. The majority of expatriates in Malaysia learn to keep their mouths shut. Pastor Raymond Coe, Pastor Joshua Hilmi and his wife Ruth, and Amri Chitmat disappeared within 4 months of one another. None of them were millionaire philanthropists. They were not a kidnap risk. No family member received a ransom note demanding payment for their release. So what is the common thread that links them? To try and understand what has happened, we can glimpse into their lives. Pastor Coe and his wife, Susanna, founded an NGO called Harapan Community. They helped the homeless, drug addicts, HIV/AIDS sufferers, and single mothers. Many of the poor were Malay. So, did the authorities feel threatened by Christians showing compassion and serving the community? Were they envious of Pastor Coe's help for the needy? Did the authorities suffer from a dog in the manger attitude? Were the authorities so insecure and afraid that they thought that many Malays would be moved by Pastor Coe's compassion and want to become Christian like him? Pastor Joshua was a Malay who converted to Christianity. His wife Ruth was Indonesian. They were allegedly warned to leave the country, including allegedly by a politician, but they disappeared before they could leave. They had allegedly received threatening phone calls and emails over Joshua's alleged conversion of Malays and Muslims to Christianity. So, did the authorities fear that Joshua's presence would embolden other Malays to convert? Amri Chitmat disappeared one night in November 2016. He was a social activist whose NGO called Perlis Hope helped the poor and single mothers with food and accommodation. The authorities accused Perlis Hope of being a front for Shia activities. The NGO denies this, as it helps people of all races and religions. And if you're not aware, Shia Muslims are not allowed to practice their faith in Malaysia. A year before Amri disappeared, his house was raided by the Perlis Mufti, and Amri was accused of spreading Shia teachings. The NGO has closed its doors as they do not wish their donors to fall foul of the authorities. So, are the religious authorities fearful and envious of the good work done by Amri Chekmat? Envy is one of the 7 cardinal sins. Was envy of the good work these people did a contributory factor in their disappearance? Article 11 of the Federal Constitution protects the right of the individual to freedom of religion. The Al-Baqarah verse 256 in the Quran says that there is no compulsion in religion. In other words, faith is an intensely personal issue, and each person should be allowed to find their own path in life. Simply put, the state failed to uphold the law in Malaysia and the correct practice of the religion, despite what the Constitution and the Quran says. A few hours before Pastor Raymond was abducted, another incident was unfolding at the KL airport. Kim Jong-nam, the brother of the supreme leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, was assassinated. Within 2 days, 2 women were arrested. Now contrast the response Susanna received. She was questioned for 5 hours when she lodged a police report about Pastor Koh's abduction. Why did they waste so much police time? The police were suspicious about the video footage from a private house showing the abduction. What happened to the witness who reversed his car when he stumbled on the abduction? Has he been threatened? There are 2 police stations further up the road along which Pastor Koh was driving. Now, petrol stations have CCTVs. What did the recordings show? Did the police pay them a visit? Intersections further up the road have mounted CCTVs. Where is the footage? The PDRM and Special Branch are allegedly among the world's best, but no one saw anything, heard anything, or discovered anything. Hundreds of millions of ringgits are spent on surveillance equipment, but no footage is available. Malaysia is overrun with CCTVs to monitor our movements, but in the killing of political aide Teo Beng Hock, customs official Ahmad Sabani, A. Coogan, and other police detainees, including last month's rape of an underage girl in the Miri police lockup, no footage was available. The following are the usual official responses. The CCTVs were faulty. They had no recording feature. They were pointing the wrong way. They were removed for repair, or they were simply missing. So what did they say for Pastor Koh's case? Let's compare 2 other disappearances. When Irish-French tourists Nora Ann Quarine disappeared from her resort in Dusun, Negeri Sembilan, in August 2019, police roadblocks, tracker dogs, helicopters, 350 army personnel, and, unofficially, BOMOs were deployed overnight to look for her. Was the same amount of resources and manpower used in Pastor Koh's case? Is the response different because a foreigner was involved and the world was watching? Contrast the police effort in another abduction. Indra Gandhi, the kindergarten teacher from Ipoh, has not seen her daughter, Prasanna Diksa, ever since she was kidnapped as a baby 12 years ago by her convert husband. Former Inspector General of Police, Khalid Abu Bakar, gave many excuses why Prasanna cannot be found. He also claimed that there was a conflict of interest between the order of the Sharia court and the judgment of the civil court, which had ordered him to find the child and return her to Indra. That is why I say the authorities have failed the people. Administering a country with two sets of laws, Sharia and civil, will cause conflict, but it is individuals who bear the burden. There is a different response investigating foreigners and locals. The police appear to drag their feet when Malaysians are involved. But when Malaysians do disappear, there is preferential treatment for those of a particular religion. So, why have the police forsaken the oath to protect the public? So now we discuss your role. The erosion of our human rights is a consequence of 5 decades of neglect. Malaysia was sick even before the coronavirus pandemic. There is a vaccine for coronavirus, but none for corrupt, greedy, and power-hungry politicians. With money laundering, we follow the paper trail. With the theft of priceless jewels, we follow the trail left by the gems. And in the abduction of these 4 people, the muddy path will lead us to Putrajaya, where you will find that the 2 R's, race and religion, are used to undermine our rights and create a culture of fear in Malaysia. Many hypocritical Malay leaders hide behind the cloak of religion to serve themselves. They wield an invisible stick to control the population, both Muslim and non-Muslim. Non-Muslims face many harsh realities. Temples are demolished, crosses are removed from churches, and Bibles in Bahasa are banned. But many Malays now find that their lives are more manipulated than most other people. It's worse for the Malay woman. And if you're part of the elite, you will not feel the oppression. Without this control over us, Malay leaders know they will lose power. But I tell you, do not feel hopeless because you have an important role to play. Education is the key to stop intolerance and extremism. Teach our children not to fear people of other races and religions. Highlight to the international community what is happening in Malaysia. Our leaders are vain and conscious of the nation's image and their own. Create awareness. Let us not be the next Argentina, Iraq, or Sri Lanka, in which scores of thousands of people disappear. Don't act only after one of your loved ones has been abducted. The state has no right to deny you the right to life, to freedom of expression, or freedom of religion, just because you disagree with it. So please speak out to demand action to locate the missing 4. We are stronger if we act together. Do your bit to honor Pastor Cole. Feed the story of the missing 4 and keep it alive. Thank you very much.